Come and speak your peace, be still. Calm my storm, Lord. I know you will. As long as you are in this boat with me, there's no safer place that I could be. You turn my heart into that peaceful place. Safe haven, a harbor of grace.
I never thought in 1985 that my life would never ever be the same again, but it hasn't been. A Catholic mother had a Catholic boy who was sexually abused by a Catholic priest in that rectory, the Catholic rectory behind me. It's that simple, but it's not simple at all. It's very, very complicated. When we moved to Mendham in 1965, Vatican II was just beginning and things were changing. Besides the organ music, we went into guitar music, and things got very casual. When Mark was about 4, he was a very loving child, the same as all the rest of his siblings. The other 6 were also loving children. You never had a clue that anything was happening up here at the rectory. And it wasn't bad to stay overnight in the rectory. It was a different time then. The young people of today who have, their children have play dates. Their children are never usually alone without them, which is wonderful. We didn't do it back then. The kids played outside until it got dark, and I rang the dinner bell, and they'd come home for dinner. They were hanging around up here when they got a little older. That was fine too, because this was a Catholic priest. You trusted the priest. As time went on, and Mark's abuse continued on and on, he didn't tell us until he was a junior at the University of Notre Dame when he discovered what had happened to him was sexual abuse. In March of his junior year, he came home here for the week in Mendham because he had to see somebody. It was the highest authority that he knew who would take care of the problem so that other children would never go through what he went through. He went to see the bishop. And he was told at the office not to tell anybody, not to tell his parents, first of all, because they may be upset. And here we are 28 years later, and we are still upset, but really mad at the way he was treated. He told his dad at Thanksgiving time, because all the time was fought for Bishop Rodimer, not much was being done. He had wanted action so that if a priest ever came and had abused a child, they would know what to do immediately. They wouldn't put it off for 6 months that they were doing more. I was told, fortunately, because 2 weeks later, Father Hanley's picture was in the front of the beacon, saying Mass with all little boys standing around the altar. Now, we naively assumed that he was not in the church anymore. What was he doing here? Later that week, we got a call to go to see the bishop. And the bishop was very generous with his time with us. We spoke. But after the priest who had brought us there from St. Joseph's came into the room, I started to say things the bishop was going to do to take care of this problem. And the bishop did not like what I was saying. He got livid. His red face yelled out at me, "Mark is not my boss. The Pope in Rome is my boss." And I heard myself say, "Mark is the victim, and he will be satisfied." Now, not only did we not get an "I'm sorry" from the bishop, we got callousness, disregard for us. We were Catholic parents. We were a Catholic family. We were the family that was going to have Catholic children. We already had 5. We ended up with 7. We were going to have Catholic grandchildren, great-grandchildren. to perpetrate, to bring the Catholic faith future into the future. We were the future of the Catholic Church. And we didn't even get one, I'm sorry. The bishop yelled at me.
Number one is that children don't ordinarily disclose when they're being sexually abused. They don't tell right away. Now that's a hard one to understand, right? Because I'm a mom, I've got 3 daughters, and when my kids run down and they're at the park and they fall down, they scrape their knee, what do? Come running, Mommy, I scraped my knee, Daddy, I hurt myself. So parents think if a child is being sexually abused, that hurts, and of course they would come and tell me. But it doesn't work like that, because child sexual abuse is not the same as scraping your knee. When someone scrapes their knee in the park, theoretically, no one is saying to that child, don't tell anyone you scraped your knee, no one's going to believe you. Don't tell anyone you scraped your knee, they're going to say it's your fault. Don't tell anyone you scraped your knee, dad, grandpa, uncle, friend, coach, priest, teacher is going to go to jail. Don't tell anyone you scraped your knee, mommy's going to be really sad. There's all this guilt and pressure and embarrassment and blame and shame that goes along with child sexual abuse. And these are the reasons that children aren't talking about it. And certainly, if we're not talking to our children about what child sexual abuse is, the only person they're learning about it from is who? The abuser, right? So he's going to say, well, your body reacted a certain way when I touched you, and that means you wanted it. And so if we're not talking to our children about what this is and that no one can touch your body, they're going to believe the abuser. And that leads us to truth number 2. Big truth number 2 is that parents aren't talking to their children about what child sexual abuse is and how to prevent it. Now that's a hard one to understand too, right? Because I'm a mom. I know when I had a baby, I baby-proof my house. I teach my children how to cross the street safely, how to not go near a hot stove, swimming safety. Of course I'm going to teach my kids about body safety. But I know parents, lots of good parents, have not had this conversation. Why not? They don't know what to say. They don't know how to say it. They're afraid they're going to mess it up, so they don't say anything. They think their children are not old enough. They're 8, 9, 10. This conversation should start at 3. They don't realize that. And then there's the catch-all. This isn't going to happen to my child. Well, unfortunately, the CDC statistics are 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys is sexually abused in this country by the time they're 18. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys. So those people who think this isn't going to happen to my child, statistics show that that may not be true. Then there are the parents who say, well, we had this conversation. I'm all good. I talked to my kid about stranger danger. Unfortunately, stranger danger accounts for approximately 7% of child sexual abuse. Child sexual abuse, 93% of the time, happens at the hands of someone known to the child, someone within their inner circle, someone who's got the trust and the moral authority. We're here today talking about clergy abuse, but that's very similar to any other abuse where it's just a person in a position of authority who takes advantage of a child in their care. And so to say this isn't going to happen to my child or we've done stranger danger is not going to help. And that brings us to our third big truth about child sexual abuse. It doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care if you're black or white or Hispanic, rich or poor, or what religion you practice. It can and it does creep into every community. So what do? That's pretty scary stuff. Now we know this can happen. What do we do about it? Well, when my daughter was 3, here I am, a sex crimes prosecutor, I knew that I was supposed to talk to her about good touch, bad touch. No one can touch your private part, but I didn't know what to say, and I didn't know how to say it. A little embarrassing, because this is my job. So I discreetly went to the library, and I said to the librarian, can I have all your books on good touch, bad touch? So she came out with a big stack of books on the sense of touch. You can touch hard things and you can touch soft things. I said, no. It shows how often she's asked about this, right? I said, no, I want to talk to my 3-year-old about no one can touch her body. So she came out with another set of books, and they were all older, 80s, 90s. I didn't care as long as they helped me. And then I opened them up. 80 words on a page, 100 words on a page, and I'm looking at my 3-year-old and thinking, she doesn't have the attention span for 100 words on a page. I needed something much more basic. So I went to my doctor's website. Great pediatrician, has stuff on his website about bullying, drug abuse prevention, everything. Not a word on how to talk to children. Not the word sex at all on there. So I waited till my daughter turned 3, and I went to my appointment, and I said to the doctor, I know my daughter's 3, I'm supposed to talk to her, what do I say? And he proceeded to tell me what to say and how to say it, and, the parts of her body covered by her bathing suit are private, and told me the necessary exceptions, and I said, Can I ask you a question? I went to the library, I went to the bookstore, I went to the internet, I went to your website. Why did I have to come to you? Why couldn't I find an answer? And my doctor, very good pediatrician, shrugged his shoulders and said, taboo. No one wants to talk about it. I'm honored to be here for many reasons. So before we get to the scripture, I just want to say why I'm honored to be here. I'm honored because I think about my brother, Stephen Batt, Del Barton class of 1985, who last year, almost to the day, stood on the steps of the courthouse in Morristown and publicly and bravely uttered the words that had haunted him for many, many years. I was abused by a priest. And I want those of you who have 7th grade brothers, cousins, sons, neighbors, 7th grade boys, I want you to just imagine that starting out of school and what that must have been like.
And long story short, I kept trying to personalize myself in the car. I said, you need to let me go. My parents are going to be looking for me. And after a sexual assault took place, he did end up letting me go. And I knew that he had done this before, and I told my story to the police that night when I reported. And I was shocked at the treatment by the responding detective that evening who didn't believe me. He asked me, are you in an abusive relationship, Angela? Does your boyfriend hit you? Because sometimes girls get themselves into situations. My arms were all lacerated from where he had bound my hands behind my back. But he was so convinced that I made this up that nothing was done on my case that night. And what I came to realize after they finally put 2 new detectives on the case that were amazing, and with the sketch that I did of his face, they put it all over the Chicago News, and someone recognized him. And not only had he done this before, but he was on parole for murder. And so the inspiring part of my story and the support that I got was a phone call 3 days after I was kidnapped from my grandmother, who said, Angela, I know this was difficult for you, but this happened to you for a reason. And those words of support from my grandmother changed my life from victim to survivor, and now thriver out of this experience. And I got together with the family of the girl that he had killed and other of his previous victims, and we changed laws in Illinois. And at 17, I saw, wow, people have the power to make a difference when we want to. And I was so inspired. But why I started PAVE was because everybody had a story. Old high school teachers, friends of my family, men and women, so many people would disclose to me that they had been sexually abused. But mine, being a stranger assault, that's what people tend to think of, but that's not the norm. It is always, statistically over 85% of the time, it's somebody that we know, and it's somebody that we trust. And so we stand here today in solidarity with all of the survivors, and what is so important is having that support, not only from people, but to be re-traumatized by the institutions that are there to protect us is so re-victimizing. What happens with the cover-ups, and for me, not to be believed by the detective, is such a hindrance to healing. And so we absolutely need to make sure that we cultivate communities of support to know what to say and what to do if someone discloses, because we know of the emotional aftermath. And I want to thank all of the survivors who continue to speak out and to be here, and even the ones who still have not found their voice and that suffer in silence.
Hi, I'm Jill Starashevsky. I'm an assistant district attorney in New York City, and I specialize in child abuse and sex crimes. These are my 3 girls and 2 of my nephews, and it was a wonderful opportunity to speak today at the Rededication here. And, I've been doing child sex abuse cases for so long, and one of the things that I noticed early on is that children don't tell when they're being sexually abused. So when I do speaking events, whether it's for PTAs or whatever it is, I spend 45 minutes telling people why they should listen to what I'm about to say, and then 15 minutes actually saying what they need to hear to teach their kids how to be safe. But it's such an important message that you should talk to your children about their bodies, that no one can touch their bodies, and that if someone touches them, to tell. Here, you want to hold up the book? I'm the author of My Body Belongs to Me, which is for 3 to 8-year-olds, and it's to help parents and educators teach kids that their bodies are private. You can get more information at the website at mybodybelongstome.com, and it was thrilling to be here. I was very proud to be here today.
This is my body, and it belongs just to me. I have knees and elbows, and lots of parts, you see. Other parts I have are not in open view. I call them my private parts. Of course you have them too. Mom and Dad once told me I was their little gem, and if someone hurt me, to always come to them. One day when we were visiting my Uncle Johnny's house, I was playing with some toys, quiet as a mouse. My uncle's friend came over and sat down next to me and touched me in that place that no one else can see. I got so scared I froze and just stayed where I sat. I thought, this is my body. Why did he do that? He said it's our secret and told me not to tell. But I ran away real fast and then began to yell. I told my mom and dad what just had taken place. They said that I was really brave, and then each kissed my face. Mom and Dad said they were proud. I told them right away. It made me feel better too. They believed what I had to say. I learned if I was too scared to tell my mom or dad, I could have told my teachers what made me feel so sad. I know it wasn't my fault, and I did nothing wrong. This is my body, and I'm growing big and strong.
Hi, my name is Angela Rose, and I am the founder and executive director of the national nonprofit PAVE, Promoting Awareness, Victim Empowerment. And we are here today on behalf of PAVE's 50 chapters and affiliates to stand in solidarity and shatter the silence of sexual violence. We know that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18. And there's so much silence and so much stigma that we're here today to say that there is no shame in being a survivor. And today needs to be a call to action to every person in New Jersey to support the elimination of the statute of limitations. It's so difficult sometimes for people to come forward and to talk about these issues. And that's something from a policy standpoint that we really need to stand behind. And so we are here today not only to shatter the silence, but to give hope and to give voice. And so we are so grateful to Bill Crane and for all the supporters here. And on behalf of PAVE, thank you so much. So my new book is called Hope, Healing, and Happiness, Going Inward to Transform Your Life. And it's a guidebook to help survivors and non-survivors overcome those negative self-limiting beliefs and to really transform into your best self. And so that is available on PAVE's website at shatteringthesilence.org.
As a priest advocate, I welcome this rededication ceremony, and I was so moved by the testimony of these women who give us advocates inspiration to continue our work, because we too have been affected to the core of our being. I mentioned during the ceremony that my life will never be the same. I've been working with advocacy for over 30 years, so I'm deeply moved by this expression and by the support that these people give to us as well. Thank you.
I'm Pat Serrano. I live in Mendham, New Jersey. I have been a parishioner at St. Joseph's Church, and I represent SNAP, the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests. My son Mark was abused by a priest here at St. Joseph's from the time he was 9 to 16. And he was put into a cage of silence by the abuse because he knew he couldn't tell, and he had to live with the secret and live with us. So he lived 2 lives. And it's been a very difficult 28 years that we found out about Mark, but we go on and we offer our services to people because we never had anybody to talk to about the abuse. So that's why I'm very much involved with Survivors Network.
Hi, it's such an honor to be asked to say a few words after today's beautiful ceremony. My name is Katie Batt for Sora, and I grew up in Parsippany. My brother went to Delbarton, class of 1985, and I'm here because my brother last May, stood on the steps in Morristown of the courthouse and announced publicly that he had been sexually abused by a priest at Delbarton. And he's in his mid-40s now, and some people ask, well, why wait so long to talk about it? And as was so eloquently described today, it's so hard to tell that story. You bury it deep, deep, deep. So I'm so proud to be here, and mainly because priests need to be held accountable. They're still in positions where they're influencing children, many of them still serving their churches, still in contact with kids, and that has to stop. But most importantly of all, those of us who have children, who are relatives of young children, you need to tell them it's safe for them to be able to tell their stories right away. It's okay to share what's happening, that it's not their fault. And the work that's being done here today in Mendham and around the world on behalf of victims is so important. It's been an honor to be here. And for my brother, Stephen Batt, who I'm so proud of. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Colleen Crane Bornstein. I'm here today representing my brother Bill Crane, who is was the creator of the Millstone Memorial, and sadly he couldn't be here today, but he was so excited for today's events and all the great speakers that we had, and I want to let him know that it was a very successful day, and it's so great to have so many people here today and to have lots of organizations working together, networking together to bring awareness to this critical problem that we have in our society now. We need to come together, we need to tell our stories, and we need to, so that people can be heard, and that the fine leaders of New Jersey will begin to realize the detrimental effects that this has and start changing their archaic laws. And also things need to change in the church as well. We need to awareness has to be brought to priests where this abuse is still allowed to go on and eyes are closed and people look the other way. We need to make this stop, and the way to do that is by everyone telling their stories, coming together and just getting the stories out there. I'm so proud of the work that my brother's done. He's created the organization Protect Kids First. It is a new organization, and one of the first things we're doing is to rebuild the monument here. So today was part of an effort to bring awareness, as well as the rededication of the Millstone. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Robert M. Hotzen. I'm the co-founder and president of Road to Recovery Incorporated, a 501c3 charity based here in New Jersey. And the mission of our work is to assist victims of clergy sexual abuse and other abuse by anyone in society. We're about a 10-year-old nonprofit, and we were founded as a result of the tragedies that have occurred to children throughout America, throughout the world, and in particular here in New Jersey. Our purpose here today is to be here with all of the survivors and the supporters to rededicate the monument to survivors here at St. Joseph's Parish in Mendham, New Jersey. What we do is we have a system whereby anybody who calls us and asks for our help in any way, shape, or form, we try to do that. As we know, sexual abuse survivors are in great need of therapy, in great need of support, and very often in great need of just the basics of human life. Many of the victims, because of the abuse, end up being homeless, being without food, without family, without comfort, and what we try to do is we try to fill in all those blanks.
I'm Chief Libertino of the Mendham Borough Police Department. I'm here with the Assistant Prosecutor in New York City.
Jill Starshevsky.
We're here on a dedication today and a celebration of all the abuse victims that happen around the world. And as you can see, the statue was damaged here a couple of months ago. Our police department is investigating. Hopefully at some point we will get the culprit or culprits that were responsible for this. So if anybody has any leads or has heard anything, please dial our police department, Mendham Borough Police, 973-543-2527, or 1-800-CRIME-STOPPERS, which is offering a $2,000 reward, and any help would be appreciated from the public. Thank you.